Welcome all to the third episode of Beneath the Surface, Tabletop Tempest's first actual play in the TTRPG space. I am Kris, pronouns they, she, and I will be your game master, aka storyteller for this series. I am both delighted and blessed, as I will say every week, to say that all of these lovely cast members, both on screen and behind screen, are either immigrants or children of at least one. And together, we are bringing you a crazy story inspired by Brazilian folklore that is going to be exploring the nuances of living abroad while your ancestry is located in a place in another country. But now we're back to that country. I've introduced myself. I would now like to introduce the players who are going to be driving much of the story today, have them introduce themselves and who they're playing, starting with Danny.
Hey y'all, my name is Danny, my pronouns are he, him, and today I will be playing Myto Bui, who is the brain playbook. Their pronouns are they, any, and they also have a little companion named Stitches.
Hello, everybody. I am Victor. My pronouns are he, him, and today I am playing Orúno Munín, who is has the book of the Doomed, which is hilarious, as you probably would have guessed by the name. And yeah, we have questions.
I don't know why you would. Next up is Jay.
Hi everyone, my name is Nala or Jay, my pronouns are they, them, and I am playing Tamsyn Zhao, who uses she and they pronouns, and I am the legacy.
And the legacy who's dressed so well all the time. I love it. Next up is Val.
Hello, everybody. My name is Valiant Dorian. I use he, him, his pronouns. And tonight I have the distinct pleasure of playing Gabriel Zhao, who uses he, they pronouns. And I'll be playing the Scion playbook. He's having a normal time, I think.
Super normal. Definitely nothing weird happening soon or later. I don't know. And last but not least is Claire.
Hello, everyone. I'm Claire. My pronouns are she, her. And today I have the distinct but less distinct than Gabriel's pleasure of playing Carmen Pereira, who also uses she, her pronouns. And I am playing the Star Playbook. And today we are mourning. Carmen lost her phone.
Today who's we? Who's
We
we?
should have
in
worn
collective
funeral
we
blacks.
all morning. Right?
I wanted to wear black.
Thank you.
What?
Thank you for respecting that. I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, lots of questions that may or may not get answered today. We will see. But speaking of questions being answered, because we are moving down a little bit deeper into the lore part of the storyline, trigger warnings for this game are going to be changing. As per usual, trigger warnings for this game are familial and generational trauma, loss and grief, rage, lineage and stories, but also specifically for this episode, possible discussions of death of people of all ages, though nothing vivid whatsoever, discussions of grief alongside discussions of previous and current family trauma, mentions of a civil war, and depending on how the players play it, conflict. But when's there ever conflict with family? Last but not least, we would like to thank both our sponsors and our partners for this game. First off, as you heard all of these lovely playbooks being used, we are going to be utilizing the Masks TTRPG system. And because of that, a huge thank you to Magpie Games, who has partnered with us and has provided us some hardback copies that we will be using for giveaways in future episodes. So keep sticking around for that. And also a huge thank you to our dice sponsor for the entire show, Whitney from Smoking Glue Guns. Be on the lookout because not only are my players all getting gifted their own 2d6s that are personally being made for this game, but also we will be gifting a set of dice that was made for this series. Now, are my players ready to dive in? Literally, not figuratively. Are we ready to go beneath the surface?
Whoa, title drop.
Title drop. Take me in.
Okay. So we left off with all of you near the ocean's edge, underneath the twilight of the moon rising above. Now, having spent a few moments with them, Iracema has been with you all for the past few minutes, and you now that you're starting to hear what the next steps are going to be from them, you're noticing small things in the light of the moon that you didn't even notice before when your brain was still wrapping around what in the hell just happened when you all received these new powers. What you had seen before, the obvious things, is that Iracema wears the skull of an unknown animal above their head with these long white braids on both sides of their cheeks. But now what you're noticing even more so when it's just the six of you is that under the light of the stars, you notice that their eyes are glowing fully a deep aquamarine with no pupils in sight. And you see that there's these red and blue markings adorning the top half of their face that aren't just the intricate lines you thought they were, but sometimes when you look for just a second too long, it seems as though they're dancing across his cheeks and forehead and nose. Myto, you would know more than anyone, so roll me a 2d6 to see if you can tell what type of animal skull.
Oh my
It's a top there.
gosh, not a first roll of the game. I do have a brain move if we're diving into the playbook. So one of my moves
Yes.
says scientific insight. You have achieved mastery over a field of science. Name it. Whenever you assess the situation in your field, I can ask, I guess, a follow-up question. And my field of science is actually biology and zoology. So let's go. An 8. Not too bad.
An 8? Nope, that's still, even with an 8, you needed at least a 7. You can tell that it is a dolphin skull. But with the front half, where the nose protrudes, the front half of the jaw has been sawed off. Do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah. I think Myto will kind of at first awkwardly be staring like a few feet away at this adornment on their great uncle's head, and they're like, hey, great uncle, I see that's a dolphin, but why is half of the skull cut off? Is that a ritualistic thing, or?
Oh, purely aesthetic.
Oh.
It wouldn't be much fun to be walking around and then I turn too fast. I might hit someone on the head.
Oh, okay. So yeah, sawing off skulls for aesthetic is maybe a family thing I didn't know that was traditional. Okay. It looks cool.
I can show you how sometime if you want.
Yeah. Is it fun? Is it a what is Yes, I will.
Maybe some other. And you see that they raise these like she's got really long skinny fingers with nails extending like just another 2 inches from them. It just is almost creepy, these creepy long fingers extending from her hands. And she just, as you're like, yeah, I'll do it, they walk up and they hold the edge of the rope. You want to take the end?
Yeah, okay. I just didn't know when we were cutting skulls in half. But yeah, I'll take the rope.
Don't worry about you have other things to worry about. And they just drop the rope in your hand as the rope glows blue when you hold it into your hand. And they go around to each of you and put the pieces of the different parts of the rope. And you don't need to make any rolls. You can tell that it seems that as they come up to you, he puts a little bit of the rope into somebody's hand, and as he walks away, it's not like he had a whole bunch of rope still in his hand, but it almost seems to be extending like out of nowhere, where it looks like he only has a little bit left, but more keeps coming out. And he takes it and puts it in each of your 5 hands, and does this little routine-esque explanation that you guys will be holding onto the rope as you go into the ocean. And again, you have already practiced breathing underwater. you know that you know that it's possible and that they will be guiding you to the place. So whether you want to close your eyes and just go along with the ride or look at the marine life around you, you can. But as they go through and they pass it off to each one, um, do any of you have any questions or want some time before we go?
Yeah, I don't think I should be in the front.
Let
You're in
me.
the back.
Oh, good. Good. I'll follow.
Gabriel has surreptitiously, I think, throughout this, like put himself like closer to the middle so that he can have access to either end to make sure that everyone's a-okay. Because whether or not
Mhm.
we practice breathing on the water, underwater is scary, and it just takes a moment's panic for everyone to just lose themselves for a moment. And I think that's kind of like the frazzled anxiety he's carrying with him as he's holding this one piece of rope and like consistently like pushing against the fringes of his curls, just pushing it back nervously.
I think Tamsyn has pulled all her hair back up into a bun. And getting ready to be like, okay, we are going for a swim. Okay, I wore nice clothes to this event. Okay. Um and um I think it for the longest time she's trying to decide what to ask because it's almost like we all get one good question, right? And I think Thompson has many questions. Um and I think eventually she just raises her hand like a little bit timidly and then more.
And you just see like one of those long fingers and fingernails just point up towards you.
Uh, y- yeah. I have a lot of questions, but I think hopefully we'll be getting some answers soon. But I guess my most pressing question, are we able to talk underwater or will just bubbles come out?
You will be able to breathe, but you
Yeah,
will
well,
not be
breathe,
able to
yes, but
talk.
talk. No, okay.
Talk, no.
Okay. So that's why
But
you're
to
asking
answer
us all the
your
questions now. Okay.
questions that you have, when we arrive at the city, the first place we will go is the Santuario, the library. And that is where you can find the answers to probably all of your questions.
Is the and Tom like stops herself because she's like, "Oh, I'm about to ask a second question. Are we doing this?" And then she says, "Is the library also underwater?"
Yes, you will be
Tom look
fully underwater.
Tom looks to Gabriel with a very perplexed expression
Hmm.
on her face. I think um Tom's inner monologue is just thinking, are we dreaming? Like what is happening? This is out of some like comic book. Like
Hmm.
what is this? This can't possibly be real. Um and is
Yeah.
looking to Gabriel with a very much like, are you hearing this? Like are you down to clown at this or are you also as confused as I am?
Gabriel returns your perplexed expression, and you know that beneath the surface, haha, of that expression is also it's that concern that he always kind of carries, even ever since we were children. He has always been a lot more cautious as a child, and I think if Tom is comfortable, he kind of like weaves himself closer to you and just kind of like taps your forearm and squeezes it reassuringly and whispers, "It'll be okay. It seems that great grandfather knows the process. Let's trust it. And you know that if anything happens, We're here for each other, and I'm here for you. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
And yep, I will be right behind you, holding the rope
Mm.
and my stick.
You hold that rope and your stick, and I'll hold the rope here with. And he stares at the metallic sheen on his arms, whatever this is. And I think as soon as those words escape his lips, he looks over to Orúno because he's been very curious at Orúno's particular reactions to our situation. I think Gabriel will be trying to get less than asking questions of Iracema. He's more interested in engaging everyone else's responses to all of this, just to see if there's any anomalies he needs to pick up before we go under the water together with a rope.
I mean, other than the fact that Orúno's eyes are a different color now, and the fact that there are markings that seems to be peeking from his skin on the forearms over here and also on the neck, you find Orúno is like frozen in position, like somebody probably handed him the rope, and he sort of like absentmindedly kind of took it, and it was a moment where like maybe he grabbed it and he kind of spotted the markings on his arms, and the markings on his arms and the thought that are running through his mind sort of took over, and he just kind of became like is like completely still. It seems like a statue right now of like he's just like lights on, nobody's home because someone's in the basement opening all the drawers of trying to find what the hell is going on.
And Gabriel, like an unexpected guest in the middle of the night, knocks against the doors of your mind and taps you on the shoulder and says, Orúno, are you with us? You okay?
Who
Thanks.
you
Thanks,
the conversation?
Thunder.
Is Orúno in the room with me?
Oh,
The
that's what that
thunder.
sound was.
That was Thunder. It just started out of nowhere.
It sounded
This is what
like
happens when you knock at
someone was
Orúno's door.
dragging a chair around or something.
You use his gaze kind of goes to you, but it's almost as if it's looking through you as he asks, and he's not really asking you, but he's looking at you as he asks, and he goes, "Who was that?" And it is only after a moment that his gaze sort of goes to Iracema. Just the person that I saw.
And you see Iracema look around you guys. What?
There was a vision of I saw my parents and a child that was not me. Who was that?
That might be a question for the library. My only job is to make sure that a connection stays. I don't know much about your family.
Orúno has a moment where he hears that, and his eyes sort of go to the water, and he starts going for it.
As you feel yourself start to run, you take about 3 solid steps before the rope that was in your hand. You thought you let it go, but you didn't. And almost as if it hit a concrete wall, when you go to take that 4th step, you fly back as the rope won't let you go further. and a few feet away from the person in front and back of you.
He just has that moment and he just looks back.
The rope is meant for your safety, so you make it to the city.
Hang on. We cannot make it?
You know how to swim hundreds, thousands of feet beneath the surface of the ocean?
Well, I can swim. That far, no. But I feel like the distance isn't necessarily... What about the pressure of the water? You're saying a rope will fix that? Sorry, I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, Tom, I get your logic, and I had those questions too. And then Myto holds up this rope, and it's like glowing, and it's like, I don't know if we can put regular logic on what's going on right now.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Gabriel stumbled, I think, a little forward, kind of like half expecting the rope to tug him along as well, but it didn't. And he kind of like jerks forward for a moment and then leans back and looks at everyone, like looks at Orúno, who's clearly antsy, looks at Myto, who's probably studying the rope, looks at Tom, and then looks at Carmen. How's Carmen doing in this whole interaction? How are you?
Yeah, so I feel like if there's an option not to, Carmen's probably the only person who hasn't picked up, like, touched the rope. Because Carmen is in a state right now where you ever see an adult really trying to, like, hold down a tantrum, but, like, they're an adult, so, like, you can't throw tantrums in public because you're an adult. So she's in this state where, like, because two big things have happened today. One, she watched all of you get powers, which broke her brain. Two, she got powers, but I don't think she's even fully clocked that that's a thing that's happened. And three, like, she lost not just the most important possession, but the most important thing in her life today. Her phone represents her business, the way that she built this persona for herself, the way that in her mind she stays in touch with everybody who cares about her and everyone who's ever looked up to her or validated her own importance. So, like, her whole when I say her whole life has just, like, cracked open, that's what's happened. So she in a way is experiencing, like, a very real trauma right now about not having the phone, and in a way the rest of the stuff that's happening is purely peripheral. But I think she in this moment, now that Gabriel sort of, like, brought her back into, like, the reality of what's happening, I think she is trying so hard to be polite, given that this is still family and saving face is a thing. She says, Iracema, understand that there is a desire for us to take this little trip, this little detour. You know, I brought my swimmers, always down to be a team player, right? Like, especially, like, if it's for family. But, like, respectfully.
As you say respectfully, because you keep throwing your hands open.
Mm-hmm.
As you say respectfully, those long fingers grab the back of your hands and clasp with her hand, and you feel your fingers mold around the rope. Keep going. Respectfully.
Yeah, so see, this is kind of my point. Like, there really feels like we're lacking a enthusiastic consent issue here, in that, like, I was really excited to come to this family reunion and, like, fully expected some uncomfortable situations, but, like, you broke my phone. And now, like, you're forcing me to do this whole little, like, save the family thing. And I just don't really, you seem great, but I just don't really feel like we have a lot of reason to fully trust why this is a thing we should like do. Respectfully.
And I need everyone to take off their headphones but Claire. As you say, I don't think we can really trust what's going on right now. You feel your vision blur and fade. And you see scenes kind of like a Christmas Story, where now both of you have gone back to moments where you are alone. Give me one quick second. Hold on.
I'm sweating.
Because you're fine.
I'm fully sweating.
But you see that now Iracema is showing you all of these moments where the mask has dropped and you're talking badly about the people about you, how your fans can be so shallow sometimes, and oh, marketing is so easy, why aren't people as good at it as I am, it doesn't make any sense, this really isn't rocket science. And these moments where she gets angry and starts yelling at people for tiny inconveniences. And then you see flashes forward to that face you put on social media where you love your followers so much and you'll always like you're there for them and all this stuff. And she shows these two sides to you before you hear her voice in the side, and she goes, sometimes we need to trust that people have more to show. Just go to the library. You'll find some answers. Or I can share the answers with the others. Or you can choose to trust that I won't. And in that moment you come back and everybody else. So you guys, all you see is Iracema lean in, whisper something in Carmen's ear, and then pull back.
The rope says nothing.
Huh?
Carmen's grabbed the rope and she says nothing. Shall we go in or what? Field trip.
Everyone ready?
Yeah. No, we're ready. Everyone okay? Just stay close. All right. Just let us know, great grandfather.
Who's in the front of the line?
Iracema will be in the front, and then who's after?
Orúno. I think Stitches runs and jumps onto Orúno's shoulder, like super excited to go down, very enthusiastically.
Orúno sort of looks at Stitches for a moment, and a smile manages to take over his face, which he's grateful for it, because he didn't plan it, it's just happened when he saw Stitches. And he's grateful for that brief moment before he looks back into the water and his eyes are locked, like he's just looking at us. That's safe.
So, you guys begin your descent beneath the depths of the ocean. And kind of what you were told about before, you knew that you would feel just fully engulfed by the ocean, but you're shrouded in this kind of cerulean embrace instead, and you feel a sense of calm that many of you have not felt in your entire life as the rope in your hands begin to pulsate blue as you start going deeper and deeper into the ocean. The water pressure around you, you feel it sometimes ebb and flow, but it feels more like a gentle embrace, kind of like this silent guide that leads you towards your ancestral city. You begin to lose the light of the moon above, and even though you have been going down for some time, it has just been moments of peace and tranquility and calm in the room that you haven't heard before. Left alone with your thoughts, whatever that looks like, trying to occasionally make out shapes in the darkness beyond you, and After what seems like a decent amount of time, you see that the darkness of the ocean around you begins to pierce ever so slightly as you see that light grow and grow until you see this luminescent beacon break through the darkness. And what you see is a city unfold before you in majestic splendor. These towering spires of coral and stone reaching upwards. They're carved out of the side of a seamount, cradled. And you can see, cradled into the side, is a city almost held in a protective embrace. It's colors of orange and blue and green and purple that you have never seen before, and you do not know how you could not have seen this city from the moment you stepped into the ocean because of how bright it is. And this vast city that seems 2 to 3 times the city that many of you are used to, almost similar to New York City, 2 to 3 times the size of this, you start getting closer and closer to, ironically, what seems like this small little landing dock. Again, an ironic piece of a city that lives underwater. And as the rope and Iracema bring you down to this dock, your feet touch the ground, and bioluminescent plants and ethereal jellyfish begin to illuminate the pathways before you that are just casting dancing shadows and light across the structures before you. You immediately hear and then see glass ceilings appear above you and all around you, enveloping you all like a box before you both see, hear, and then feel the water drain from the encapsulation that you're in. And as the last bit of water drains out at your feet, you realize that your clothes are still dry. And the light of Iracema's rope fades, and the rope dissolves from your hands, only leaving a small piece left in Iracema's. Looks to you all and holds out a hand, almost simultaneously as these transparent glass-like doors open in front of you into the plaza center of this city, and they say, "Welcome to your second home, Cidade das Marés. Come with me." And they begin to take steps forward if you all join.
Orúno is following with Stitches on his shoulder.
Stitches has been playing with the fauna and all the different glowing things, and like is like making rounds around Orúno up and down, and like studying Orúno's newly kind of skin, and is like enthralled that like Myto has never seen this type of like excitement and curiosity out of Stitches before. But Myto turns to Gabriel and is like, did he just say second home?
Yeah, I picked up on that as well. Gabriel says, I think he's still looking ahead towards Iracema's back. As they begin like striding away from us. And I think he looks over to Myto. And there's this curious perk in his eye as he looks towards you. Myto, based off of, I know we're beyond the realm of logic, but something like this would need folks to caretake for it, right? Water would destroy everything, right?
Yeah, I don't even understand how none of us are wet. This city, it would cost trillions of dollars for anything to be like this.
And Gabriel nods and kind of, I think, mumbles under his breath, but loud enough for you to hear, Myto. I don't think he intentionally intended you to hear this, but he mumbles under his breath. Secrets upon secrets. And I think remembering himself turns back to you and gives you that typical Gabriel smile. Right, I think only answers lay forward with great grandfather. So, shall we? Tom, you alright? Carmen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Carmen has been, while we were walking down here, been sort of towards the back. And it's maybe honestly the first time in her adult life that she is experiencing the world without trying to think of how to make it content or monetize it. And that like when you described the calmness of the water, I think part of that was just like what do I do with my hands? Like what are we doing? Like I don't think she even knows what to do, but halfway through the journey, as the creatures and their bioluminescence came out, I think it's almost like a child seeing something for the first time. She's like, because when she had the transformation, she did not realize anything that was happening. And I think she, at the back, like behind everyone, reached out to like try and touch one of the creatures and saw a little spark come and was like, something. I think that is truly the first time, A, she's like, that was cool. But B, is like, something's happening here. I think she's clocking that now for the first time. Like, oh, something big is happening. So she's still at the back, but as Gabriel speaks, she's like, yep, following you, leader. Team Tricycle. Let's go.
Tricycle.
Gabriel just sighs, resigned, defeated sigh, and looks over to Tom. Tom, you alright? Got your stick?
Yep.
Alright. 4 of us in stick, and Orúno. And I think at this point, Orúno's probably marched off. I don't imagine Orúno's waiting for any of us.
There's definitely so Orúno's connection to water is strong, has always been strong. So this the going under and seeing all of this definitely helped a little with the sort of very distant concern expression, and he sort of took a little bit of that wonderment and brought it forward. And I think Stitches being next to him helped. And when he saw some of these creatures and reached out and saw that his like the markings on his body were like reacting bioluminescently as well, and Stitches getting like curious about it. So he's been sort of like, if Stitches is seeing something that he can't reach, he will like offer to like lift them up so they can like maybe like grab it or tap it or like try to play with it, and then allowing them to run. And so he's been kind of taking all of this in, that has, at least for now, distracted him from some of the other thoughts that he's had in his head. But he is all in. Like he's not, if this can be real imagination dreams, he is in it, invested entirely. And Stitches is it's a great companion to encourage him. So he's going.
All right. And I think at that point we'll head forward. Trepidation slightly aside.
Trepidatiously, yeah. You guys begin to step forward, and like I said, you walk through into this bustling plaza, and you can see almost as if you are at the center or the stage of an amphitheater, these homes cascading down in front of you, the sides of the seamount, down to the streets below where you are walking, where towering buildings are lined sporadically across the city center you are now stepping into. You see streets of mazes and archways, and again, the vibrant colors that the closest thing you've seen is in tropical fruits, but these ones just have this bioluminescent glow to them. And the city's alive, not just only with the marine flora that have made it their home, but with the ancestors themselves, whose presence you can feel as though it's a wave and a whisper of the ocean as they pass by you. And as you're taking all of this in, it takes a moment to realize perhaps what you had expected is not what you're seeing, because the spirits here look just as alive as you. You see, walking the bustling plaza you're stepping foot into, you see people of all ages, colors, gender expressions, looking human. Not like these, what you would think a spirit would look like. You see a young woman seated in a chair making a flower crown for a child that is just ever so slightly shaking with joy on her lap. You see and hear the laughter of elderly men as they're pushing one another down the path, their laughs even brighter than the streetlights themselves. You hear a group of young women gossiping in the corner and even an occasional bark from a dog being chased by a cat. And Iracema begins walking down some of the roads. And you walk for what seems to be 10-15 minutes, just taking in everything around you, and that this is both what you would have imagined and then also what you could not have imagined. And as you approach the library, known as the Sanitario of Roots, the Sanctuary of Roots, you 5, including Iracema 6, approach a building that strikes you, grandeur. Carved from the very bedrock of the seamount itself. This building its entrance is framed by towering columns of coral, just encrusted with shells and pearls, the colors of yellow and purples cascading down each wall and around each window. And Iracema points and tells you that you are here, but you notice that they're pointing just beyond it. And nestled, unassumingly, beside the grandeur of this building, Iracema points to a small shack that stands next to it in stark contrast. And it looks constructed from the salvaged remains of shipwrecks and coral debris, with a simple door of reclaimed wood at the front. And walking towards it, Iracema opens an outstretched arm towards the door. She's expecting you.
Who is she?
Who keeps the stories of our family.
So, like a historian.
Iracema nods. This is the library.
What is this then? And Tom points to the much bigger, nicer building.
And Iracema looks up. It's a radio station.
Is this city like short on public funding for the library? Like, do we need to start a fund or something? Because I can
No,
do
we
that.
don't.
Oh,
We don't use money here. There's no need for money or funds. Everyone here has a job that they enjoy doing, and you can trade labor freely and willingly. No such thing as specific work days that you would see back home.
love that. We
And
love flexible work life. I'm just saying maybe like different person to build the library.
And the people here are, and Gabriel trails off, hoping for Iracema to finish the sentence of who these people are.
The people here,
Hmm.
the keeper of the
ones that-
stories is
The ones that walk around with children, dogs.
those are your ancestors.
Oh. He
In
clears his
some
throat.
way, each of you are related to them.
Wait,
And
Orúno is just...
Yeah, go Orúno.
I think Orúno is just gonna, after hearing all the stuff about like no money, all the jobs that they like, he actually like quietly speaks to Stitches. You know what, Stitches? Maybe I did die. Maybe this is heaven and you're like an angel or something. Not complaining. Looking great so far.
Do not be afraid. Is actually just Stitches as an angel,
Just
biblically accurate angel.
Stitches' little hands just being like, time to go.
Be
I
not
think
afraid.
moment. So cute.
Be more afraid.
I think at that moment, Carmen goes up to Stitches, learning that like everybody here is somebody's ancestor, and goes up to Stitch and is like, and sees the dog and the cat, and is like, so like, is that your mom? And is that your dad? Because you're like a dog and a cat and a monkey. So like, do we need to? Is that your mom and dad?
Stitches runs behind Orúno's shoulder blade and like peeks up and like tries to like hide away from Carmen.
You can say it's okay. I'll keep it secret. Don't worry. It's okay. We can chat about it later.
Yeah, let's do that.
So the shack is the library that
Mhm.
holds all of our answers,
Yes.
like the Encyclopedia Britannica, or
And Iracema just like kind of goes to sigh and just it's so apparent and they just hold it and then they again point out their hands to the door.
All right, Orúno just kind of goes to the
Yeah.
door and opens it.
And Gabriel
go in.
follows shortly past you with you.
Is anybody not looking in? Or is everybody like trying to peer in some way or another?
Scooby Doo, peer inside.
Yeah.
So if we're going with Scooby-Doo, you push the door open and like your five little beady eyes are kind of like slowly emerging as the door opens. And you see that this space is small. A single room that serves multiple purposes. You see in the far right corner a cozy little bed tucked into one corner, shrouded by translucent curtains of woven seaweed. And then opposite it, you see a compact bathroom carved into coral itself, offering necessities with just pure simplicity. And on the right side of the room, though, you see oh no, Jay's back. At the right side of the room, you see a rectangular table filled with sweets. Brigadeiros, tres leches, cakes, sopapillas, pujim, and cups filled with what you would know as acai juice. And at the very far end of the table, sitting in a wheelchair is an elderly lady, far older than any that you have seen in your entire life. And you see the rosiest cheeks of all, sitting atop deeply tanned skin and the softest smile you're feeling from the entrance of the home. These cheeks are drooping down her face ever so slightly as just the wrinkles scattered across her face, her neck, her arms tell of all the years she's lived as though they're the rings of the inside of a tree. You see these long braids, black and white hair, and two red beaded necklaces sitting atop of her robe. And in front of her sits 5 wooden chairs open, 2 on each side of the table and one directly across from her, where empty plates and silverware carved of coral as well sit in front of each. And for a moment, the silence permeates, and her smile does not break as the wheelchair backs up and moves towards you as she gets a little bit closer, and you see these, like, just broken wooden glasses hanging on the tip of her nose as she looks up at all of you. It's you all. You are the children of... She starts pointing at each of you. She points at Tamsyn, of Miriam, and looks at Carmen, of Clarabelle. Looks at Orúno and pauses for a moment. Luna. And slowly inhales, and then turns to Gabriel with, you know what? Roll me assess the situation, Gabriel.
Oh,
2d6
I was hoping you'd say that. Oh, I was hoping you would say that because I have a terrible superior.
No.
Oh, fantastic. I should seem less excited about rolling this. Okay, but I did roll decently. That's a 10 total. That's an 11
That's a
minus
10
1.
total. Okay. Everyone can see that that she looks at you a little bit differently, and the word in Portuguese that doesn't directly translate into English, and the word is saudade. And what it is a feeling of missing or longing for someone or someplace or something that you don't know if you'll see again. And she looks at you with this look of saudade for a moment. And it's not the first time someone's looked at you like that in the family. And she just nods.
Mm.
Miriam. Hmm?
Yeah, yes. It would make sense for Gabriel, I think, to at least know where she occupies in the family tree, and I think he kind of like lowers his head. Yes, hi, great grandmother. It's nice to meet you.
And as you come down with a quickness you didn't see before, she kind of grabs your chin a little bit and brings you close. And under her breath, you hear her say, "You do have her eyes," as she lets your face go. And you all see the wheelchair kind of pull back and go back towards the center. "Please come. I did not make all these food for you, and it needs to go to empty stomachs. I know they don't feed you enough up there. I know my daughters doesn't know. I know they changed the recipes. I know they did. They will not tell me. But please, please," as she just begins to mutter under her breath as she puts herself back at the head of the table.
I think Gabriel takes this moment to like glance over to Tamsyn, just to see if Tom noticed that whole interaction.
Did I
Between him.
notice?
So you would have noticed everything, but you would not have heard what she said.
I think Tom was about to say, like when she paused when looking at Gabriel, I think Tom was about to interject with like, "That's my brother. Like we have the same mom." But I think she leaned in and did that whole thing before Tom could speak. And I think Tom is looking at Gabriel with a look of like, "That was weird."
He
um,
he just raises a hand, being like, "It's all right," and then immediately, um, a totally normal reaction, kind of like rests an arm around Myto and goes, "All right, leave some space. We're gonna eat more for great grandmother, right?" And then pats you on the other side of your shoulder and gets you prepared to sit next to him. A very interesting displacement. I think there's a sense from at least for Tamsyn that this is a very typical Gabriel displacement behavior of like, that was weird. I'm going to put this energy to better use, and that is I'm gonna grab Myto here. Just
Myto
hurry
follows
us to
along.
the table.
and I think Tom recognizes that and will just follow the two of you over to the table and is looking at all the food because Tom obviously cooks herself, so
Mhm.
she's very interested in trying this food because she knows it's probably going to be really good.
I think in the almost like opposite to the persona Carmen has, I think she is waiting to see like where everybody else is gonna sit and wants to find the seat that's like the least visible. Like doesn't necessarily like want to engage with this lady, like is just trying to get through this. So wherever she's the least out of eye shot, where the most out of eye shot is where she's gonna sit.
Probably be at one of the two ends on the other, like the two sides on away from her.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And she sits back. Like, you know, when you're at a big table, you can like sit forward or back. You know, she's like kind of back.
Yep. Where does everybody else sit?
I imagine if Gabriel wants the separation, it would be like Gabriel, Myto, and then Tom, like directly across from Great Grandma.
Yeah.
Gabriel, Myto, Tom, and then if we wrap back around, we have Carmen and then Orúno. Okay. And when you guys sit down and you're taking all of this in, something clicks. And you guys remember in tradition that not all the time are stories written down, but often they're passed down verbally. And you realize that the history of your ancestry, the library, is your great great grandmother. This is it. Similarly to, especially in Latino culture, your abuelita is the one whose lap you will sit on, and you will get the story regurgitated to you, and it clicks for a moment that this is the library. And when I say she looks old, I'm saying this woman is over 100 years old. She is aged in caps. And you guys all sit in front of you, and she sits there with this wide, hugely wide smile. Again, the drooped cheeks, barely keeping her glasses on the tip of her nose as she just is looking down at almost measuring how much food you guys are taking with a little smile.
I know not to be rude. My plate is full.
To placate great grandmother, Gabriel not only adds an additional spoonful onto his plate, but also onto Myto's.
Myto sees that spoonful out of place as she's already kind of like manipulated everything to have its own quadrant, and is like, "Thanks, cuz."
No worries. Puts the spoon back.
I think Stitches is eating out of Orúno's plate because Orúno is like, from the moment that Great Grand sort of had that pause, it sort of started taking him back to the memory, and so he's kind of like holding the wanting to ask because he doesn't want to be rude, but he's also like trying to juggle all the pieces together. And so Stitches is taking advantage of that situation.
Yeah, Stitches probably has eaten more than Orúno has.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Orúno has barely noticed. He's probably at some point like grabbed something and then like Stitches grabbed it from the fork, and Orúno sort of like put it in his mouth and then took a second bite, thinking that the first one was there, even though it wasn't.
And you see your great great grandmother just take one of the brigadeiros, and brigadeiros in Brazil are basically just balls of chocolate with chocolate sprinkles around them. Is watering talking about it. It's my favorite. And she pops one into her cheek, and you see like her cheek kind of develop a little bit after her face had been sagging a bit, and with mouthful she begins to talk. So here in this city, I am. Give me a second. And she starts taking it out. And like, okay, maybe I should have taken smaller bites, and starts nibbling on it. I hold these stories for everyone here, for your ancestors that live here, for your parents who came, and for Iracema. If people on the main village need information, Iracema takes it back for me. My name is Sandra, and I didn't know if you all would come, but I had hoped. I know Iracema might not have been very helpful, she says, like underneath her breath, and you realize Iracema did not follow you into this room and has left you completely alone with this woman. But she has like shifty eyes as she says that a little bit. But I can provide answers as long as my memory serves me well.
Gabriel
Or I can
stares at
keep eating.
Orúno. Hey, Orúno, you feel Gabriel's eyes at you, being like, "You were so quick with that question before," and like he leans forward to hear more about a very intriguing question you asked.
Orúno looks at you and he has that moment of, well, now that I'm here, I don't know if I want to ask it. It has that moment of, it's almost like you remind him, like you're looking at him and sort of like, what? Oh, right. and is just that moment of putting the plate down and um I saw something when this happened, and I saw a child that I don't I didn't recognize. I don't know who they are.
Can you explain what do you mean a child? What did you see when you had your transformation?
I saw my parents in our kitchen, and there was a young kid, and my mother was pregnant. But I don't know that I recognize the kid, and I don't know if it was just a hallucination that I had, maybe.
I I thought your I thought Zimora would have said something by now because you are older. But I don't think I'm the right person to explain. And in that moment, you see one of the brigadeiros kind of raise up into the air, just like a couple inches. And you hear a voice, all of you. I think I can help with that. As you see a hand begin to show, and you see the face, Orúno, of the child from that vision. And Orúno, you hear that voice as we're just jumping right back into it. As in front of you, holding the brigadero, is this like 6, 7, 5, 8, you can't really tell, but like a young boy who matches the description perfectly from the vision you had, standing in between you and Sandra. And you realize in that moment, as his shape fully comes into form, you never saw Sandra pushing her own wheelchair. And you look at him, and you don't need to, because being in a state of shock for a moment, you notice that you both have some similar markings that you just developed as well. Hey, little bro. And you just see these little tears, and you notice the brigadero is like shaking a little bit with these just huge brown eyes and little dark curls coming, like kind of wisping across his forehead as he brings the brigadero to his chest.
Hi. What's your name?
My name's William.
William.
And Sandra said that Mom and Dad named you Bruno?
Mom and Dad. Yeah, that's my name.
See him begin to stutter a little bit as like this look of hope in his eyes fades for a moment, and he looks down at the little chocolate piece in his hands and looks kind of in between Sandra, then back at you, and then at Sandra when he says, so they didn't tell you about me?
Orúno just shakes his head still.
Oh, you know, mom probably had her reasons, you know. It's fine. And he just like pops the brigadeiro in his mouth before kind of like leaning back on Sandra a little bit.
Orúno is looking at William, and his eyes move to Sandra with this sort of like plea of he deep down he understands, but he doesn't know how to voice everything that's happening.
I think that right now might be a good time to tell all of you why you're here and maybe give you some history that your parents didn't tell you. And she just waves her hand a little bit, and you begin to see these blue astral images. Kind of like a depiction of the wind itself appear above the table in front of all you guys. And it doesn't show anything just yet, but these lines and the blue wind coming together. And she begins telling you. And many of you, if I remember correctly, and sometimes my memory doesn't work so well, but many of you work alongside of Neutral Wave. And we've seen many great things come out of it, like all things in life, but some of you may know it has had its share of issues. Your great-grandmother, Taina, that you probably met, founded it about 80 years ago. She found that using the blue algae that is native to nearby in our ecosystem was able to bring health benefits to those that partook in it, but in very small doses, not in the way that you all were blessed with it at the ceremony. That is how you have your powers now, is a higher dosage of this. I must apologize. I don't get much visitors anymore. And she kind of squeezes William's cheek a little bit. Oh, where was I? Yes. And she waves her hand as the luminescent light starts to move and form into small shapes. She goes, the blue algae is found in a cave nearby and extended spiritual healing to the mainlands. And Taina, my daughter, she was a scientist herself, a trained herbalist from a young age. Myto, you could learn a lot from her. But with time came great greed, great joy, and she looks down at William. Great loss. About 25 years ago, Orúno, not long before you were born, the algae was used in health products for Neutral Wave, but it was used at higher density and had been tampered with, and it had terrible side effects. People were falling ill, and some people had very bad side effects. And you see her look down at your brother. But that was stopped. That practice was stopped until 10 years ago, which is why your parents came here. Technology grows and new developments were being researched, and unfortunately, because it was tested at the source, there were some issues caused. Because we here rely on the blue algae so much, it affects the ecosystem of our cidade so much, and it affected people here. And what happened was nothing we had seen before. And that's when the lines of blue wind above you start to take form. And Myto, the vision you had, or the visions where you saw flashes of your parents and you heard crying of children and laughter of babies and blood. You begin to see this city form above you in the lights, and you begin to see fighting, supernatural fighting. You see fire being shot out. You see electricity encapsulating a person before they disappear before your eyes. And you hear cries softly in the distance. Because of the tampering 10 years ago, it affected many of your ancestors here. And a spiritual war broke out because many of my ancestors and yours entered the fugue state. And many of your parents were brought here to help us, as many of us elders were too weak to fight. But what we were not prepared for was that the only way to keep the people who were affected safe, and you begin to see these people being hit with something and then fading from existence, one after the other, where you're getting flashes of visions of the city where 10 people disappear, 20 people disappear, 30 people disappear. Over 100 ancestors of yours were forced to pass on for their own safety and the safety of others. And now we try to learn and return to what we understand peace to be now. But everything was fine for the last 10 years, ever since your parents were here. But now it's not the same. But the animals around us in the ecosystem are becoming aggressive in ways that ancestors here were. And I'm afraid that something is happening again. We don't know what, but memories are fading on the mainlands, and I doubt they told you any of it. But something is affecting the the algae here again. Here we call it melanin. It's affecting the melanin, blue algae. So we're hoping you can figure it out.
Orúno is taken by all of this information, and this sort of discovery is just turning around and walks away. He just leaves the space.
Orúno, wait!
He keeps going.
In immediate response to that, Gabriel kind of abruptly stands up, exchanges a silent look over to Tom through this kind of like link that only siblings understood of communicating with only just a glance, a gaze. He kind of abruptly mutters to the rest of the group, I'm gonna check on him. I'm gonna check on him. And rushes out immediately after Orúno.
I think at this point, Myto kind of looks over their shoulder and sees a full plate of food that Orúno and Gabriel had left behind, and just kind of like slides the two over next to them and snaps his fingers twice, and Stitches like runs over and starts eating off of their plate.
And we're gonna have the camera pan away as Stitches just dives his head into the food to outside where the two of you have just gone.
How does Gabriel find Orúno?
He's in between moments of shifting his body, sort of walking, pacing back and forth, and eventually there's sort of like the momentum of that energy. You kind of, by the time that you come out, you still see it, and it starts to slowly sort of steam off as the information is processing and is that thing where eventually it just comes to a halt, and it's just he's in his mind, like there's a lot of going on, and so his body has gone still for the sake of trying to contain everything that is processing through his head.
Gabriel, I think, gives you that time. He gives you the moment to pace around, to exist in the tempest of it all, and just leans against a pillar, waiting for that calm a little bit before he steps forward a bit more and says, I know that's a lot of information that you just received. Do you want to talk about it?
I don't know. I don't know where to begin. This is just, it's a lot.
I know. And I wish I could sit here and tell you that that might be the extent of the mystery and the shadow and the secrets that will be awaiting you. I wish I could do that. But I can't. And I won't lie to you. There's one thing this family is good at. It's secrets. Veils within veils, shadows within shadows. There's so much beneath the surface of it all, and I just wanted to make sure that you know that you don't have to go through it alone. We're family. And if you just need a moment to take, and Gabriel gestures to everything that's around them, this beautiful city that exists underwater, all of this within your own time frame, then so be it. You'll have my support.
You see, Orúno kind of looks around when you gesture to the space, thinking about what you say. And there's this sort of heavy, sort of chuckle of, until today, I felt that most things that I would go through alone. And then I learned that there's more people, there's family. And then you say that there's secrets upon secrets, so aren't you going at it alone anyway?
Well, there's no secrets between you and I, right?
Not to sound rude, but I barely know you.
And Gabriel takes that in stride. He doesn't break that eye contact from you. He takes your very, very acute observation in stride. Yeah. And I barely know you. You arrive amidst family members that I've known like a whirlwind. But yet I feel this undeniable connection, don't you?
Trying to lighten up the situation using humor to cope. He just says, you guys gotta work on your welcome manuals. Seriously.
We have a lot that we need to work on. Definitely one of them being our bedside manner. That's certainly on the top of the list. But Orúno, listen. I know everything is terrifying and scary, and there's shadows and there's secrets, and it's hard for you to know who to trust right now, and that's all right. Patience. Patience is what gets us through. The patience to sit with things that discomfort us while trying to parse through the truth. I won't tell you what to do or what path to take. You don't have to take it alone, and you have time to find the truth that you need. You have all the time in the world.
I have a brother.
You do.
I have a brother.
Yeah.
You see, he's like he doesn't know what to do next. You can he's
Gabriel sits with you however long you need, and if Orúno consents and is comfortable with it, he'll reach an arm over your shoulder and just squeeze it and just hold you there until you feel good and ready, good and solid enough to return. And I think he like at some point reminds you, shall we head back to the others? Let them know you're all right.
you feel he sort of, when your hand comes through, he lets it
Mm.
happen, and you can feel his breathing, and as soon as he feels the physical contact, you can feel his body, like his lungs expanding as he's trying to take a deeper breath and just trying to bring himself to center. And you mentioned the rest of the group, and he sort of turns around, looks at the door, and it's like someone watching the gates of a new unimaginable quest.
Mm.
And he just nods, tries to give you a
Mm.
weak smile, as like, I'm ready.
And I think Gabriel helps you up and lets you kind of like walk a little behind him in his mind so that he can focus the gaze and the attention of all in the room upon him rather than on you, to give you that privacy that you need, right? No one needs to see your vulnerability. So as he strides on in, he puts on that bright smile, that beautiful mask that he puts on so effortlessly in front of you, Orúno. Hi everyone, we're back. Great. Hey, why does Stitches have both our bowls of food? Hang on, Stitches. And he'll slide on over and like reach over the little table to grab the bowl back from Stitches, and then call you Orúno over. It's like, there's still some fruit in there. This one's half eaten. I'm just gonna put this here, and tosses it back at Stitch, and settles the bowl in front of where you would sit.
You see that Oruna follows through, but he does keep a bit of a distance from the group where everybody's sitting. Like, he lets you take the lead, take the focus with the intro and the whole thing with Stitches, and he's smiling about it, but he stays a few steps behind, standing up, just sort of leaning against one of the walls, and kind of he's there, he's just taking his time.
And
think-
we're gonna pause really quick and go backwards just a little bit to when Orúno and Gabriel ran out, and the three of you are now Carmen, Tamsyn, and Myto. You guys are left here with the door closing behind the two of them.
Tom looks at the other two and kind of just almost like visually grimaces on her face, and she just waits a couple seconds as they walk away, and she just goes, "Woof."
Awkward.
You can regulate your emotions if you just keep eating, and like points at the food, and Myto's just like stuffing his mouth over and over.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. Thanks. And I'm gonna continue eating off my own plate. And I think Tom puts an entire what would be, I think, bite-sized something, but just like, those things that are bite-sized but actually take like 2 or 3 bites to eat, puts the whole thing in her mouth, and she's just sitting there just like looking between the two of you and then watching stitches and just
And you feel a little tug on your shirt as William walks up next to you with like 2 of those like little chocolate ball brigadeiros in his cheeks. And he just, under his breath, about like sprinkles falling out, he goes, "Oof, woof. That was funny. You're funny." Just like chuckling to himself, and sprinkles, like a couple just fall onto your lap. "Oh, sorry." Picking them off as he like walks away, stuffing them back.
I think Tom just giggles at him, and around her own food, she just says, "Look at you, you chipmunk."
It makes it, that alone makes him laugh, that a little piece of the chocolate ball just shoots out onto the floor, and embarrassingly, like underneath his like bronze skin, you see the slightest shade of pink come up, as he shifts back into invisible. But you see the brigadeiro get picked up, disappeared in the air, as you hear his footsteps go behind Sandra, and you see his little feet kind of reappear behind her.
So how long have you been here?
Pokes his head back out. Me or her?
Mhm.
Because I didn't learn a lot of
No,
math.
no, you.
Me.
I would never ask you when I make eye contact with her. Never ask you how old you are.
Sandra just gives you like that elder nod of like, you know. And you see William kind of come back out, take a big gulp. I am all of 6 years old. Six.
That's a big, yes, that's correct. That's a big number.
But if you add up all the time, I'm like, and you just see like lots of finger counting going on. I think I'm in my like 3 zeros, like 30, not 3 zeros. And you see him kind of point
That's a
at
much bigger
Sandra,
number. That's a much bigger number.
like, yeah, a lot, but 6.
Myto is finishing a bite and is like, "Hey, William, can you come over here real quick?"
You just pat around the table. Yeah.
Do you mind if I put my hand on your head real quick?
Okay. And he starts like putting his head towards your hand. Yeah, it just
And Myto puts a hand on William's head and then's like, "Can you do that thing where you just disappear?"
like this, and but instead of his whole body disappear, just his head disappears.
Whoa!
It's like a party trick. And then the rest of his body disappears. But you still feel your hands on his head.
And
Or on his
Myto
head.
just has this like kind of like, okay, logic doesn't actually work down here. Like, what is going on? And looks over at Sandra and it's like pointing at a hand, just like, how does has he always been able to do this?
No, he has not. One of the reason why he is here is because the Milan, the blue algae that was in the old Nutrowave products were too much for his little body, and as you can see, he likes his party tricks. And William just comes back like with a big smile on his face and then disappears again. And she laughs, shaking her head. His family was worried that the Milan would be too powerful, that his usage of his powers would be too much for him and for his body to take. So they brought him back here to the village to consult the elders, and everyone thought that the best way to keep this little man safe was to keep him here where his physical body would not be affected and he could spend his time learning party tricks and having a happy life.
Blue algae, and kind of looks over at Carmen and Tamsyn. It's like she keeps saying like blue algae, blue algae. So William got transferred over here because he had too much blue algae, but we had some blue algae before we all of a sudden could come underwater. Have you ever ran any experiments on how much is too much? Because we had to gulp down a good amount, and is like kind of frantically looking between Tom and Carmen, and it's like, so yeah, too much blue algae. That sounds like a problem, and my grandma's still at home, and the farm still needs to be ran. So how much is too much?
Oh, yes, Tamsyn.
And Tom isn't saying anything, but as Myto is speaking, in her mind, she's thinking, and is there such thing as too little? Because everyone else had something really cool happen to them, and nothing happened to me. But that's inside brain thoughts. But I need to share with the audience. I need to share with the audience my inside brain thoughts.
I love that. Break the fourth wall. You see Sandra kind of looking between all of you, and there is such a thing as too much and used incorrectly. You see, you are a man of science. You understand. And she starts using her hands, like just gesturing to absolutely nothing in the air. There's nothing but food in front of you all. And this blue algae is called Milan, and it's been used by our people for centuries, for millennium, used by the elders and also this city here in general for spiritual practices, to enhance visions, to gain clarity in life. And when blessed by the Boto, who you know as Iracema, it can produce supernatural effects. But an overuse of it, a proper use of it, a proper healthy, what we would call overuse of it, when it's blessed by the Boto, gives you the powers that many of you are blessed with. What you receive is up to the Milan itself. We have no idea what it will give you, but it knows that you will receive what you need. As far as too much, we found like 10 years ago that it attacks either the body or the spirits, feeding off the weakest parts of either. But and as Sandra starts to trail off, you hear the door open, and Orúno kind of walk in first, standing off to the side, and Gabriel coming in with a big masked smile, looking down at the plate that Stitches was eating out of, pulling it closer to him, realize it's been just about licked clean, to the point where you see like somehow Stitches produces saliva, and you got these like little driblets of whatever this cat dog like has left on your plate as you take a seat.
That's cursed. That's immensely cursed.
And I think when Orúno and Gabriel had walked in, Gabriel sitting down, Stitches kind of looks at Gabriel, kind of like in a jokester manner, and kind of looks over at where Orúno was sitting and realizes Orúno wasn't there, and looks up and sees that Orúno's still kind of laying back, and just like runs over to Orúno and just sits down next to Orúno, as if Stitches didn't just eat all of his food, but in a way of comfort of like, oh, something's wrong, and I just ate this man's food.
Orúno sits on the ground and attempts to pet Stitches. He welcomes the distraction.
As you pet Stitches, one of the little cheek pouches, he kind of spits out one of those little chocolate balls and just like rolls it towards you. It's covered in saliva and
Of course it
other
is.
food, just FYI.
Orúno has a moment where he looks at it, looks at Stitches, looks at it. He takes it. Thank you, Stitches. We'll save it for later. Not wanting to be rude with Stitches, just puts it in his pocket, making a note that he's gonna have to wash those pants.
Tom kind of shoots Gabriel a look and kind of mouths like, "Is everything okay?"
Do you think we'd be sat next to each other? I think we would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the guise of getting you an extra refill for your plate, he leans closer to you and says, "Bruno's just taking some time to process the information, but." And he glances over to Orúno, who's kind of like hanging out with Stitches, the like some level of softness still like piercing through despite the heaviness he carries on his shoulders. I think we'll be okay. Just needs time. All of this is overwhelming. How are you doing? And he like leans closer.
Good. Fine.
Hmm?
This food is delicious.
I know. Gotta keep our strength up. Don't know how long we're gonna be out here. Did he say anything? Did great grandmother say anything?
Mm. Mm.
All right.
I think while this conversation is happening, Carmen this whole time has been sitting uncharacteristically kind of alone, off to herself, like kind of in the shadows, but has been keeping an eye on William because I think she has a bit of a soft spot for the sibling who had to kind of who was, whether through their own will or not, kind of for lack of a better word, like shunted to the side for reason, whether it's for their safety or not. So she like leans back, like away from the table, and is like, "Hey kid, hey kid."
Yeah. And you hear like, if anybody was looking at William, you see him drop down and he thinks he's sneaky. He's like under the table now, as 6-year-olds do, and he kind of crawls on all fours, even though you hear the do 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 do. And he's like kind of like right to the side of your legs.
And while the conversation's been happening, her plate was pretty empty, but she took a fistful of the brigadeiros and put them on her plate, and like in a feigned, like matching his sneaky energy, like looks around and is like, "I know you said you look like you're 6, but based on your age, I think you're a grown up, which means you can have as much dessert as you." And she again, like real, like faux sneaky, puts the plate under the table and like winks at him.
And you see he's got like a little pocket on the front of his shirt, and he goes, "Oh, this is great. Nobody's gonna see that I have so many." And he starts putting like 3 or 4 of them in, which he isn't realizing is leaving like a really big bulge in the front. "This is great. No one will know. I'm gonna be so sneaky." And he starts putting them in his pockets as well. Just again, tiny little kid giving this just these like 3 little pocketfuls of brigadeiros, and he sticks one in his mouth. "You're pretty cool. What's your name?"
My name is Carmen, but if
"Are you
tell
my
anyone,
sister?"
quite, but I have a feeling we're going to get to know each other very well in this family. And if you tell anyone I gave you those brigadeiros because I'm adult too, I'll lie.
"Oh yeah, yeah, adults lie all the time. Oh my gosh, it's crazy." "I know."
Crazy.
Anyways, if you need a brother, and he kind of wisps with the back of his hand, like some of his curls, "If you need a brother, I'm pretty cool.
I can tell
could-
you're pretty cool.
Thanks."
I read character pretty well, and your vibes, A plus.
Our vibes.
You learn when you're older, when you're more adult.
Oh, okay, okay. Vibe.
Get back to her before anybody sees you.
And you hear that crawling as you guys see kind of William's eyes from like the side of the table again as he slowly you see just the tiniest bit of like brigadeiro on his cheek.
She gives him like a very knowing nod, like. Mhm.
I'll say that probably Orúno has been sort of like glances whenever he manages to spot William, but it's also that thing of not knowing how to like address the situation. So he's kind of using Stitches as his like anchor, where like he's like petting and playing with Stitches and sort of like kind of like shooting those looks toward William, just kind of like having that moment of like this person in front of me that I'm just meeting and what it entails and what it means, but not knowing how to approach. You know, so Carmen seems to be doing a great job at that. I don't have that right now, so it just
Yeah, I'll say Stitches kind of gets this social cue that you are kind of splitting attention between the two of them, and Stitches will run over to William to try to steal a little Brigadeiro to bring back to you. Do I have
And
to
you
roll
just
for that?
no, I'm gonna let that happen. It's against a 6-year-old. And your weird cat dog contraption has saliva. Like I think it can steal a brigadeiro from a 6-year-old. And you just see Stitches do that like weird white monkey crawl that we've seen in the gifs that get sent, and it just runs over and William with wide eyes like and just right into the pocket, exposing the fact that he's got a bunch hidden. Just gets all like hides behind Sandra really quick and looks around as Stitches walks back to Orúno, and you just and the playful like it's on look, Orúno, you see as Stitches hands you the brigadeiro, you see that brotherly like eyes kind of close, pursed lips. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Orúno grabs the Brigadier and sort of looks and notices the expression from William, and he just has a moment of like, do you want it? He just has a moment of, am I doing this? and, and it's just still in that. And he just aims. It's just,
Roll me 2d6.
of course I will.
Dice. We need dice in this game.
That is a 5.
A 5. You throw it, and there's nothing secretive about this. And you throw it realizing that you went about like 10, 12 inches off as Sandra just watches it fall through the air, hit her shoulder, and bounce off. But a 6-year-old is nimble, and you see this boy just kind of drop down and flip his head and catch it as it bounces off of Sandra's shoulder. And Big Cheek, you just see he does a little fist as he disappears.
Orúno probably is still with a hand extended because of the horror when he saw the thing hitting Sandra, and it's just that moment of like throwing and then just and then catching, and then the catching of William, and it's just that.
Yes, you will have plenty of time to work on your aim later, child.
While this happens, Carmen looks at William, even though he's invisible. She looks in his general direction and is like,
it is getting close to my bedtime. Is there anything else I can do for you? Because I know Iracema has something else she needed to show you all.
question. And this is like, I think the first time that Carmen is addressed great grandmother. And It's like, so I get that we took this algae, we got new powers. I consider myself like an avid fan of emerging technology, we'll say, but I'm a new user. Do you know what I mean? Of this whole like we have powers situation. Um, is it like you like pay one time, eat the algae one time, and you have powers forever, or is this like a subscription model, like supplement situations? We have to keep taking it, or can we like opt out?
The Milan will stay as long as it's needed. Some people have never lost their gifts, and other people have them for short periods of time. So I do not know for sure.
So it's sort of like algorithmically random, or
Algorithmically.
I'll just figure it out. Don't worry about
Okay.
it. Carmen's just like anxiously in the corner with this like the unknown just like quietly freaking her out.
I know that and Gabriel pipes up finally. I know you mentioned that Iracema is going to be helping us with the next stage. What's the next stage?
Has Iracema told you why the Milan gave you what you have?
Just general sort of greater family need, which we are still figuring out how that looks like at present for the rest of us.
Yes, no, it's no problem. We need you all to see if something is wrong at the source where the Milan grows in our ecosystem. It's in a cave that is not far from here. Again, we who are in this place cannot travel to that cave. And usually your parents, like I said 10 years ago, they helped when things were wrong. And in the past, other ancestors have gone there for us. But right now, we know something is not right with it. The things are starting to be weird again. Not too bad. It's nowhere near what it was last time, but
You keep
yes.
mentioning Tamsyn speaks and her plate is now empty of food. She has run out of food to eat. She says, you keep saying last time was worse, and then mentioned like people were just a bunch of our ancestors were forced to move on. And how? Why? What happened?
Yes.
Yeah. Help me clarify, please.
Of
with all
course.
due respect.
No, that is what I am here for, to help with these questions. But the cidade that we are all in right now, this is a in between for those in the family who have passed on from the material plane. Those here may stay as long as they like and may choose when they wish to pass, or when they wish to pass on peacefully into the nothingness of rest. But about 10 years ago, like I said, over 100 of your ancestors were forced to pass because of the fugue state they entered, because of the testing that was going on in the cave. 10 years ago, your parents also were given a blessed Milan by the Boto, and they received gifts that the Milan deemed necessary for the path they were to embark on. I don't remember too much details, but I do remember the sounds in the air, because these spirits were forced to pass on into the nothingness of rest instead of having the opportunity to choose. And the sounds in the air It was like booms of electricity. Though used alone, I don't think it was by itself. The Milan has granted you powers specifically to help defend you from whatever the Milan needs defending against. Which is why we entrust you all to go there. But to answer your question about the forcibly passed on, I don't know exactly how, but I remember the sounds of the electricity booms.
You just said that we were given powers to help deal with the problem. Like the algae knows what it needs to help.
Correct.
Tamsyn's glance shifts down to the right, at her stick, which is probably just next to her somewhere, and then back up at our great grandma, right?
Yeah, she's up there.
She's up there.
Above table, she's like, she lived to be over like 110 years old
Oh, okay.
in
Old.
the material world. Yeah, and
Doesn't
she's
matter,
been here for
she's
a
grandma.
minute.
She's
Yeah.
grandma.
She old.
And then back up at her, and Tom's just like, what if the exact nature of the powers that we got aren't coming out clearly or strongly or anything?
Then there might be something blocking the access. That's not something I can help with, but Iracema after this will be taking you to the Colosseum before you are shown where you can sleep for the nights. And in the Colosseum you will be able to test and use and become comfortable with some of the powers that the Milan has given you. And she looks at you, glances down, because she's been noticing a couple of the glances down at the stick, looks down at the stick, back up at you with a soft smile. Or maybe you were meant to find out soon, rather than before.
Inside Tom's mind, she's thinking, you know something. You know something. What do you know? But she doesn't say anything. And Tom, I think quite literally sits on her hands and or just like tucks her hands under her thighs, and just nods and says, thank you. The food's really good, by the way. Really, really good food.
Yes. If any of you want to take some along the walk, the Iracema will take you to the Colosseum. You can, and she kind of side eye like a little bit, smiles, winks at Carmen, and goes, "You could put some in your pockets for later." And smiles, and
I don't know what you mean.
you guys hear a knock on the door. And Iracema knows not to come in because Iracema has an attitude at night and I don't want to deal with it. But don't tell her I said that. She knocks and she's outside for when you all leave. And she gives you like an old lady like shaking of her like little wrinkly fingers. Okay.
Right.
Like I said, the food is yours, actually. And you see her reach behind you and grab an invisible arm, pulling it around as you see William kind of come back into form with, once again, 2 puffed out chipmunk cheeks. And she kind of rustles the curls on his head. William has not had much fun lately, and I'm sure he would like to show off a bit to the new family. And you just see his wide eyes And he starts darting his eyes in between all of you, but specifically between Carmen and Orúno. I can take you all with Iracema to the Coliseum and show you the cool moves I've been practicing. Waiting for you to get here, he says, slowed speech for a moment, looking at Orúno. And then a big smile. Yeah, I've been practicing. Race you to the door! And you guys just see William run off, open the door, and then throw it closed behind him.
And Carmen looks at Orúno and is like,
and he just sort of pushes himself up from the ground and has like a moment of sort of looking at Stitches. As if like, dude,
Stitches is also kind of pantomiming like what Carmen's like.
oh, all right. It's just he just goes on and then goes toward the door.
I think as Orúno leaves, Stitches runs over to Sandra, and at the same moment, Myto kind of walks up and leans into Sandra and is like, so I usually act in a very logistical manner. I don't know if you can tell us this, but how dangerous is this?
And she pulls the side of your collar down towards her so that your ear is close to her mouth. I have a feeling you'll need to watch out for when they can't step up. And she just pats you on the chest and kind of pushes her wheelchair back a little bit. But that's all I know. I'm just an old lady. What can you trust or believe? I don't know. I'm also very sleepy. So.
do any of us see that?
You see it, but you don't hear it.
Gabriel will pay final respects to great grandmother, like close to her feet, and then smile at her and say, "Well, we'll go ahead to the Coliseum." He like raises an eyebrow, and maybe we can speak more later. Please rest well. All right, family, to the Coliseum.
Yep.
Why are you enunciating weirdly, Gabriel?
Because just confirming that we're indeed all going to the location called the Coliseum.
Yep.
As he like shuffles out.
I'm bringing my stick, and Tom
Yeah, bring your
leans
stick.
down, takes the stick off the ground, and will follow Gabriel out of this little house.
Follows behind. I think she is kind of sus of great grandmother because there's this like assumption that like family is the most important. But I think for Carmen, this all going on in her head, but like family has not been mutually beneficial in terms of the relationship she has. So I think she's going along, but is not like bought in to this. Like she loves her cousins, all these people are great, but like not sold.
And the door closes behind the last one, Carmen, as all five of you plus William and Iracema leading the way, you guys begin to walk towards the Coliseum. And the camera pans kind of above you all in an aerial group shot of sorts. Traveling across that huge radio building and across more and more buildings, the pathway that you all will be walking the Coliseum. And the camera stops right above a golden dome, then lowering itself, traveling through the dome to the inside of the Coliseum, where we see these stone, carved in stone seating arena with a sand floor in the middle. And in the middle of the sand floor, we see a stone box in the very center. And as the camera fades away to black, we see the stone box slowly sink into the sand until it disappears and the camera fades out. And on that, I'd like to thank everyone for watching episode 3 of Beneath the Surface. A huge thank you to
ominous.
everyone watching. A huge thank you to my players. Episode 4 is going to be fun. We are going to do outros. And we are going to start with Jay, if you want to say where they can find you, what you do, and then we'll pass it off.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. What the hell? Yeah, so that stone box went beneath the surface of the sand. Come find out next time what the hell that is. Anyway, I'm Nala or Jay. Go by both. I'm at NalaWoo on Twitter and at NalaDraws everywhere else, including TikTok and Instagram and Blue Sky, etc., etc. I am an art director and illustrator. I work full time doing freelance in the TTRPG space, and I currently have a lot of really exciting things happening, but I don't know when this is airing, so who knows what I'm doing, but you should just follow my socials. Don't follow me in real life. That is creepy and weird. But besides art, I also do voice acting, sensitivity consulting, and TTRPG actual play stream performance. One thing I do want to plug while we are here, because as of recording this, it started to come out, but Last of Eden's Vices is a Vampire the Masquerade actual play show that is going to be long running, and I am playing a sad wet cat of a vampire in that show. So the antithesis of most of the kinds of characters I play. Z didn't want to be turned in the first place, and it's going. I don't know what episode is going to be out by the time this airs, but you can catch that on Goblets and Gaze in podcast and VOD format. So that's my one plug. Hire me to do art, layout, graphics, whatever character stuff for you. Now I pass to I call on someone? I'm gonna pass to Danny.
Hey y'all, my name is Danny. My pronouns are he, him. Tonight I have played Myto Bui. They, any pronouns for Myto, your little brainiac who has a weird little robot animal living being named Stitches that will be our little pet for this season. You can find me all over the internet at Brutal Dan. That's BR00TALDAN. I talk about marketing and community building and games and how important play is and being around a table with all these amazing creators and performers, and being able to share this space of play has been something that is amazing. You can follow my Substack called Digital Thickness with 2 C's, digitalthickness.substack.com, where I talk about how you can get into the tabletop RPG / gaming / tabletop space just through marketing and also queer and pop culture through my lens. So feel free to check that out, and I will pass it over to Victor.
Hello, everybody. Victor _ the Story Weaver on TikTok. Should you want to see some of my silly goose behavior. Actor, performer, I play Orúno, he, him, just like myself. Nothing much going on yet. If you watch the show Station 19, I don't know when this airs, but there will be an episode where I am guest starring in it. So maybe this came out, maybe it hasn't. It already did. It didn't. But should you be watching that, you might see a familiar face. And actor, singer, songwriter, and just a nerd that's gonna pass the baton now to the Carmen, the one and only.
Hello, my name is Clare. I have been playing Carmen Pereira, she, her pronouns. You can find me on the internet and on what's my handle? You can find me on the internet everywhere on Twitch, Instagram, previously known as Twitter at Claire_witchbaby. This is my first actual play, so I will be taking Danny's Substack course. So you should go do that too. Follow all the materials. But if you like other kinds of fun online content, you can find me on Twitch. I play primarily The Sims and other role play simulation kind of games. So, like, come or don't. It's like up to you. And I'll pass it off to our final Gabriel.
I
forgot we were
suppose
doing
that means
popcorn.
it's me. We are doing popcorn. Hi, everybody. My name is Valiant Dorian. I use him, his pronouns. You can find me on the internet at Valiant Dorian or at also Spirit Bear. Please enjoy that lovely treasure hunt to set you on. I'm a TTRPG AP performer, Twitch variety streamer, TTRPG talk show host now, as well as a game designer making a game about werebeasts. You should also check that out. But one of my main plugs I'm going to talk about are my werebeast game called The Beast Within. Hopefully when this comes out, the quick start guide will already be out and ready for you all to peruse at itch.io/the beast within. And also want to plug in Transplanar RPG, where I play Sayir, the misbeloved twin brother of the Chosen One. We go live on Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Please check us out. Chaos Protocol is pretty good. We're doing good stuff over there. And yes, tonight I have the distinct pleasure of playing Gabriel Zhao, who uses he, they pronouns. I'm going to pass it back over to Kris. Kris, take us home.
Well, I am Kris, your lovely storyteller for this game. You can find me at D&D Imposter everywhere, and I'm one of the founders, game masters, producers, a bunch of stuff here at Tabletop Tempest. And you know it's a good game when the players are passing off the outros to their fellow players in their player character names. And I love that, and I'm here for it because I've been doing the same thing offline. But thank you all for joining us. Tune in next week when we see what's going on at the Coliseum.
Bum, bum, bum.
Everyone have a good night, and we will see you next week. Bye.